I'm San, and you're listening to San Huyen Podcast. Lately, it's been close to Valentine's Day, so you see the streets and stores buzzing with activity. But somehow, I feel like it's less vibrant than previous years. It feels like this Valentine's Day isn't as heavily invested in. I'm not sure why, maybe I haven't looked closely enough. How about you all? Is your Valentine's Day different this year compared to last year? Today's topic is about love, but actually, it's not just about romantic love. Breakups can happen in romantic relationships, but also with friends, family, at school, at work, and many other relationships in life. Usually, when we think about a breakup, it feels a bit hurtful, a bit regretful. But sometimes, it can also be a liberation, feeling lighter and more comfortable, allowing both people to move on to a new phase of life. San believes that the older we get, the more accustomed we become to having to say goodbye to someone. Why is it so easy to say goodbye? That title reminds San of a song I used to listen to a lot when I was little. It goes, "Everyone in love hears them say, if you love someone, don't put too much trust. Everyone in love hears them warn that hearts often change. But why did I still not believe? Why did I still love you, still trust in your love? To now embrace the pain alone, in sorrow, as you walk away." I just read the lyrics of the song, "Why is it so easy to say goodbye?" which was released in 2005. I was only 10, or maybe a bit older, back then listening to this kind of music. I was really young. This song is about a girl who loved too much, only to be left heartbroken when her partner broke up with her. By the way, let me tell you a story that inspired San to record this podcast. It's about my apartment floor. Yesterday, there was a battle that had been going on for a day or two. I heard really loud arguing in English, like vulgar language and swearing. Then, "Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? You've been lying to me for years. You've said it how many times?" A girl with a truly deep and resonant voice, echoing from one end of the hall to the other. I think every apartment on this floor, even the ones above and below, could hear her shouting. I was inside my room with the door closed, but it was still too loud. At first, I didn't know what was going on, so I opened my door, ready to confront them, thinking, "Oh my God, why are you making so much noise at this hour?" But that was just a thought. When I opened the door and peeked, I saw them arguing, so I decided to close the door and go back inside. I didn't want to absorb any negative energy from outside. And guess what? They still didn't spare me. I remember that day from 10 a.m. until 10 p.m., every now and then I'd hear shouting and arguing. From a quick glance, I could guess that they were a couple and he had probably cheated on her and she was kicking him out. "Get out, get out." Oh my God, she must have said that phrase 100 times. She said, "I'll wait for you in the lobby, grab your luggage and get out of here." Oh dear, what's a lesson we can learn from this? The owner of the house has the right? So, no matter who we love later in life, we should ask ourselves whose house it is. Because when you argue, they can completely kick you out. It seems like that's one of the reasons why people often advise financial independence. San isn't talking about gender here, but in general, whether you're a man or a woman, financial independence is truly essential. Especially during fights, arguments, physical altercations, and getting kicked out of the house. It sounds truly painful, truly agonizing. So, what creates a crisis in a relationship? It seems like there can be many things, but San thinks that saying goodbye is not easy at all. I'm sharing this honestly with you. San believes that if it were easy, perhaps the relationship lacked depth from the very beginning. If you're not important to me, then breaking up with you means nothing. But if we genuinely care about each other, are by each other's side, and hold an important place in each other's lives, then breaking up is not easy at all. And if someone acts as if a breakup is very easy, "Honey, let's break up," and he agrees, then perhaps, fundamentally, that relationship has been dead for a long time. It died over time. Each day we forgot to nurture it. Each day we cared a little less about each other. And so, the goodbye became easier and easier. And that's probably why many girls and guys no longer feel heartbroken when their partner says goodbye, because they've already suffered many heartbreaks before. Coming back to the topic of relationships, on Valentine's Day, I should be sharing the most beautiful and sweet things about love with you, but why am I talking about breakups? Because the past year, 2024, was a year of quite a few breakups for San, and also a lot of nurturing new relationships with new people entering my life. And San realized something very important. We can never beat fate. We can never beat the truth that we all change. And there will come a time when we change, and our frequencies shift in different directions, and that means we have to part ways. That's just how it is. In the relationship I just mentioned, when the two people were arguing because he had cheated on her, essentially, they were already on different frequencies from the very beginning. He just tried to project a different image so she would think, ah, this guy is on the same frequency as me, the same energy, a good match. But you see, some people can completely deceive us for some reason, I don't know why. But generally, many things have to leave because the energy no longer resonates and blends together. Imagine two cars driving on a road. If both turn in different directions, they clearly won't meet again. And this doesn't mean we'll never meet again, because sometimes, on the path we take, we might go from point A to point B, but the common goal for both is point C. So perhaps one day we'll come back and see each other at point C. So sometimes, breaking up doesn't mean forever, and loving doesn't mean forever either. Everything can change. When we learn to accept, we'll feel much lighter. Many people gradually stop caring about you, stop valuing you, to the point where you suffer so much that you have to say goodbye and leave that relationship. That hurt lingers, and it's not easy to heal. What do we usually choose to do? Run away, right? We often choose, oh, I don't care about him, I don't miss him. Then you start blocking social media accounts, unfriending, unfollowing. In general, you do everything to escape that relationship, not wanting to see that person anymore. And we think that we don't care at all, and that feeling of not caring might make us feel lighter and less painful. But that's not true. If we don't confront those emotions, we could absolutely encounter them again someday in another relationship, one that might even be much worse than now. We often call that a loop. Of course, what San wants to say in this podcast today isn't to heal you after a breakup. San just wants to share that there are fascinating and miraculous aspects of relationships that bring us together, make us fall in love, and be by each other's side. And it's also miraculous enough to pull us apart, separating us from each other. From that, we learn profound life lessons, and then we change, transforming into completely different people. And whether subsequent relationships are better or worse depends on what we ourselves learned from the previous one. Before, when San broke up with my partner, there were times when I would blame the other person, saying, oh, this person was like this and that. But then came the moment I looked back at myself and re-examined my own actions, what I had done when the relationship began, how I treated them while we were together, how I perceived that relationship that led it to such an outcome. Sometimes, you'll even blame yourself because you loved someone too much, right? Like the song lyrics say, people advise not to love someone with all your heart, so that when they leave, you won't be too sad. But that seems to contradict sincerity, doesn't it? What do you think? Because with sincerity, it means we love wholeheartedly and genuinely, not calculating. Subtract 1, add 2. Oh, I love him 50%, but he has to love me 100% for me to like it. Or, I'll only love him if there's a benefit. It's different for everyone. We all have certain choices in relationships. But San thinks that a true relationship usually comes from sincerity, genuine sincerity, not calculation. If you calculate too much, then maybe you won't suffer, but will you truly receive sincere love or know how to love someone sincerely? That's another question we need to consider. San doesn't think you should love someone a little less to avoid heartbreak when you break up. Instead, San believes that at each stage, we should listen to our inner selves and live authentically. That's the most important thing. And when a relationship ends, we learn to accept, to view relationships as events that happen in your very long life. 60 years, how many people can enter our lives, right? So many. Before, San thought that ending a friendship or a romantic relationship was really painful. But now it's very different, not because I love less or am less sincere, but because I no longer have excessive expectations that others must stay with me forever. I no longer overly expect everything to always go my way or play out like a movie script. It's not that your first love has to be by your side for eternity, or that if someone is your friend, you'll be friends forever. Actually, if that happens, it's wonderful to have someone who understood you since childhood and is still friends with you when you're grown. That's really sweet, truly amazing. But life is something we can't control, right? So, sometimes when we ask our partners, why is it so easy to say goodbye? It might be because you're expecting too much from them, that they should love you that much, care for you that much. But everything changes with time. Everyone has their own path. It's hard to accept, but that's the truth. The more you expect, the more your mind loses its freedom and comfort. The more you hope, the more isolated you become. And that's why sometimes the pursuit of perfection can make you feel suffocated. Suffocated because you can't accept that everything happening isn't what you wished for. And precisely because it's not what you wished for, you imagine a scenario of misery and turn yourself into a victim, thinking, I'm terrible, and why did fate give me such a difficult challenge? Why did I get such a bleak destiny? But conversely, in the same situation, someone else might feel grateful to be free from that relationship, feeling relieved. So let San tell you about a breakup of mine in 2024. This was a friend, and San thinks that when I was with this person, I had many happy moments. But especially towards the end of our time together, I didn't feel comfortable at all. My stomach issues, in particular, became more severe. When I thought about that person, for some reason, I felt hot and short of breath. Do you believe in energy? Of course, it was also due to certain reasons, our conversations, or specific arguments that made us tense with each other. But ultimately, we still chose to part ways gently. It wasn't necessary to say, oh, I'm not friends with you anymore. But simply, now no one talks to anyone anymore. There's no reason to talk and no reason to meet. And you'll see that you yourself have a certain limit of tolerance. At some point, you'll be forced to walk away. If you continue to stay with that person, you won't be able to bear it. Right now, looking back at the past, you might see many breakups, but isn't it true that breakups lead to newer things, to people who are a better fit for you? It's just that after a breakup, you sometimes have to be alone to reflect on everything. And maybe after 2 or 3 years, you still haven't found someone suitable, you still feel lonely and isolated, or sometimes you meet new people, but everything repeats exactly as before. That's because we ourselves haven't learned the necessary lesson after a relationship. And now, San has set a goal. With any relationship, I must learn at least one lesson. Even if it just ended, I need to look back and learn to see where I went wrong. I'll stop blaming the other person. I'll analyze both them and myself to find my own mistakes. And because of this, sometimes I find it very fair, you know? It means I also have my faults. For example, if we spoil a child too much, the child might become unruly. It's the same with relationships around us. If we allow someone to disrespect us, they'll feel comfortable doing so. If we don't set boundaries from the beginning, such things might happen. And clearly, we also need to look at ourselves. San remembers that my best friend used to date a guy, and he was someone who constantly borrowed money from her to go drinking with his friends. She didn't dare tell me because she knew that if I found out, I would definitely stop that relationship. And clearly, that girl was so blind she accepted such a degenerate guy borrowing money from his girlfriend, and then borrowing money to go drinking. It's just beyond words. Yet she herself accepted it and even hid it from me, not telling me, and believed that lending money to her boyfriend for drinks was normal. He'd pay her back when he got his salary the next day. And so, the relationship gradually worsened. He didn't just borrow money for drinks, but also came home drunk and hit her. You see, we also make certain mistakes in relationships. It's not always just the other person. But the sad thing is that sometimes we don't realize the lesson immediately. And if so, fate will continue to send you a similar challenge so you can learn that lesson again. And this has happened in my own life. Overall, sometimes I lose my head and don't follow reason. I listen to my heart, and then what's meant to happen happens, almost as if it takes me further away from my true self. Indeed, emotions can be truly terrifying. That's why I sincerely and honestly share with you that sometimes I really do lose my head. Many times, it's okay to accept that you're foolish, that you make mistakes, that you err. It's better than sitting there being unhappy, sad, thinking you're a victim, that someone abandoned you, that you don't deserve to be loved, and so on. No, we don't have to do that. We should reflect and learn. San thinks that recognizing our own mistakes is also a form of healing, even more than healing, because it provides knowledge and experience for us to move forward in the future, making other relationships better. At this point in time, I wouldn't say I'm an extremely mature or incredibly strong girl. I just feel that when I gain more knowledge, lessons, and experiences in life, everything seems much easier to resolve. Now, when I want to end a relationship, I have many ways to do it. It doesn't necessarily have to be a face-to-face. A, B, C, X, Y, Z, we have to break up here. And sometimes, I'll deal with a breakup slowly. And there are even times when I'm the one who will make the other person say goodbye, because in some situations, if I were to say it, it wouldn't be very appropriate. It's simply like that. At the present time, I believe anyone can leave my life, and I feel normal about it because I respect their decision, that's all. But if I were to elaborate, I've shared before that there are 3 types of people I'll be close to. First, those who are skilled, who teach me and from whom I learn. Second, those I can teach, like students. I'm a mentor, I can share, and they appreciate my giving. You might be one of them. And third, those who will grow with me, who will help me become better and more wonderful. These might be friends who share the same aspirations. I feel that my family, those who always support and love me, I will dedicate a lot of energy to them. And my partner, my close friends, those who share the same energy and help each other, love each other, have many things to share and encourage each other to be better, I will dedicate a lot of energy to them. So, when a relationship is no longer what it used to be, and 2 people no longer support each other, no longer grow together, no longer feel proud to have each other in their lives, or encourage each other during difficult times, San thinks that I naturally won't prioritize that relationship anymore. So, saying goodbye becomes very easy for me at that point, because I no longer feel like, oh, this relationship is important. It's like, now it's fine whether it exists or not. And so, gradually later on, San realized that some relationships don't even have a goodbye. They just silently and quietly fade away. Overall, being an adult is often tough, isn't it? And the good thing is, later on, I've never regretted breaking up with anyone. I feel that everyone who needed to leave should have left. It was meant to happen that way. And in parallel, as I learned more and reflected more on myself, I no longer feared goodbyes. Instead, I felt, yes, new stages of growth have arrived and I have changed. And because I changed, my surrounding relationships underwent a natural filtering. There's a great saying, when you feel like everything is dark, do you think you're about to sprout, or are you being buried? I mean, imagine someone buried underground, it's dark, right? The sky is pitch black. But a seedling, a tiny plant beneath the soil about to sprout, also has to be in such darkness. So actually in this podcast, San has been rambling and talking randomly about breakups just because of a neighborly squabble. San doesn't want too many deep things in this podcast because San thinks that breaking up is not a bad thing at all. It's something that should happen in life, and sometimes we should be grateful for it, thank it. Because over the past 2 years, especially the year San spent studying abroad, I've changed a lot. And because of that, I gradually began to perceive the relationships around me, and often I'd ask myself, why am I friends with this person? Why am I with this person? It turns out that I used to be a certain way, which is why I met them. But now I've changed, and the incompatibility means we're no longer together. That's it. Often in life, everything is just a natural process, a natural cleansing. And indeed, looking back on life, San is grateful for my personal growth. There will still be people who have been with me for a long time and are still with me now, but there are also people I had to say goodbye to. That's normal. But currently, San feels very satisfied with the relationships I have, with sincere friends, people who truly love me, which is wonderful. Especially during the recent Tet holiday when I went home, I had some truly meaningful and lovely conversations. And I'm sure from now on, I will always reflect deeply on myself to nurture good relationships by loving and taking good care of myself, improving myself more. And from that, the relationships around me will also become more wonderful. And San just simply wants to thank you all very much for listening to today's podcast, and I wish that on Valentine's Day, or any other regular day, you are always loving and loved. Whether we are alone or with someone, we will always nurture the love within ourselves. San also thinks that sometimes I wish I could hear your stories, and San is thinking about how you all can send your stories to me. How to create a channel where you can share. Please look forward to it in the future. Thank you all very much and good night.